Ladies and gentlemen, it's 6:30, the appointed time for our Planning Commission meeting tonight. Please rise, join us in prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. Would you pray with me, please? Heavenly Father, thank you for a new year, God. I pray that you would continue to bless our city in the coming year. Father, I pray that you grant us wisdom here as we make decisions concerning our city. Lord, thank you for the many blessings you give us, and as always, I pray that you protect all those who place themselves in harm's way for our benefit, and I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call a roll, please.
Paul Kaiser.
Yes.
David Hunt.
Yes.
Jim Lamb.
Here.
Mayor Parsons. Alderman Young.
Here.
Mandy Young. Curtis Ziegler.
Here.
John Conroy.
Here. We have a quorum.
Yes.
All right, did anyone get a chance to look at the meeting from our last minutes from our last meeting?
I did. I'll make a motion to approve. There's no other.
Second. So moved and seconded. All in favor of approving the minutes of last meeting, say, I'm sorry. Call a roll.
Paul Kaiser.
Yes.
David Hunt.
Yes.
Jim Lamb.
Yes.
Alderman Young.
Yes.
Curtis Ziegler.
Yes.
John Conroy.
Yes, that carries. All right, the first item on the agenda is a continuation from last month for a special use permit application to add a school use to an existing church use at 9375 Davies Plantation Road. Director Taylor.
As mentioned, this application came before you last month and a public hearing was held, but the decision for the application was continued until this month in order to give the church more time to meet with the community. It is my understanding that a meeting with the neighbors and the church was facilitated by the church on December 18th. I believe the HOA on behalf of the Davies community summarized 6 main concerns relative to the school use. The summary of those 6 concerns are provided in your packets. The original SUP concept plan, which was approved in 2012, did not include a school use, but it did show additional buildings for future development on the property itself. The site plan for this property was actually approved in 2015, which included an 18,600 square foot church and a 12,000 square foot storage building. Mr. Roy Lamica with EFI Global and Reverend Caleb Adams is here tonight to answer any of your questions. This request for the commission is to move forward with a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, where a second public hearing will be held for this SUP to add the 17,428 square foot school with a gym building and a playground. With that being said, staff is open for questions or questions for the applicant. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a recommendation based on the number of phone calls, emails, communications I've had from the Davies people that we might do a traffic study prior to approving or disapproving this either way, so that the major issue I heard from the citizens was they were worried about the increased traffic before we approved this, and if we were to at least get that cleared up, we could look at this, I think, a little better. So I'd like to add that to the engineering, I guess, conditions if no one objects.
All right, let me understand. Are you calling for a traffic study before we take action?
Well, I think, yes, sir. I think we would need a traffic study to know what we're going to do. And I mean, it's going to delay It doesn't necessarily delay the construction, as I understand it, because it's my understanding they're going to build a building either way. Whether or not it's used for a school is the question that's before us. You agree with that, Ms. Taylor?
What I was stating was that they could come back with a site plan to build an additional building on the property without a SUP because there would be no
Correct.
school use involved, because that was a part of their original concept plan.
Correct. Okay. So the question is whether or not we allow the special use. And I think to make that decision, a traffic study would help us. And if need be, I can put that in a motion.
We get some comments from the commission.
They already built our, I don't know, the construction started, but the ground movement, and they're grading, and there's stakes out there. Aren't they building already?
They're not building. I believe that engineering staff gave them permission to start the grading because they were grading,
Okay.
an acre or less, and that is permitted without a permit for
Thank
the
you.
state.
Sorry to wait.
No, that's fine.
Other comments, questions from commissioners?
Was there any feedback from the HOA on these 6 questions? Were they answered?
Yeah, I think we got a.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the itemized answers. I just don't know if they were in agreement with those answers or not.
You may want to talk to the church and the applicant on behalf of the church.
Okay, okay.
Well, I believe there's a motion, though, on the floor that we need to get out there before we go any further, I think.
Okay.
Is there?
Well, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, again, let me understand. Restate your motion, please.
I'd like to see a traffic study conducted before we allow or approve or disapprove, either way, a special use permit for a school at that location.
David, is that your understanding? You seconded? Any other comments from the questions? Call a roll, please.
Paul Kaiser,
Yes.
David Hunt,
Yes.
Jim Lamb,
Yes.
Alderman Young,
Yes.
Curtis Sigler,
Yes.
John Conroy.
Yes. That item carries. All right, so everyone understands there will be, applicant will get with engineering to have a traffic study conducted, and the results of that will be brought back to us at a future meeting. All right, with that, item number 2 is the site plan application for Lot 12 of the MMK subdivision located at the northeast corner of Ladurl Drive and Ladurl Cove. Director Taylor.
Roy Lamica with EFI Global, on behalf of the owner-developer, is requesting Planning Commission approval of a new site plan for a contractor's office and warehouse. The property is located at the northeast corner of Ladurl Drive and Ladurl Cove on Lot 12 of the MMK subdivision, and the property is zoned IP Planned Industrial Park. The proposed site is 2.176 acres in size, and it will contain a 20,800 square foot building with 80 parking spaces, a streetscape buffer, and a residential landscape buffer along the east property line. The specifics of that site plan is in the site data table, which is housed within your staff report. Staff has reviewed this application and recommend approval with conditions.
Questions for Director Taylor? Seeing none, could the applicant come forward, please? State your name and address for the record.
Roy Lamica, 11213 Goat Drive, Arlington, Tennessee.
Are you in agreement with the comments and conditions of the staff?
Yes, sir.
Anybody have any questions for the applicant?
There's no questions. I move we approve with the recommendations from staff.
I'll make a second.
It's been moved and seconded for approval. Call the roll, please.
Paul Kaiser,
Yes.
David Hunt,
Yes.
Jim Lamb,
Yes.
Alderman Young,
Yes.
Curtis Sigler,
Yes.
John Conroy.
Yes.
right.
All right, item 3 then is a site plan application for the Shamali subdivision located at 7771 Highway 70.
One thing real quick, just a record to point out we are okay with doing the traffic study for the church. Just wanted to put that on the.
Oh, okay.
To add that to it, just to let you know. Thank you.
He's in agreement to do the traffic study.
Director Taylor?
Mr. David Bray with the Bray Firm on behalf of the property owner is requesting Planning Commission approval of a site plan for a new retail store. The subject property is located at 7771 Highway 70, and it is within the CH Highway Business Zoning District. This commission approved at the December 2023 meeting both the construction and final plans for the Shamali subdivision. The site plan shows that a proposed retail store will be 3,500 square feet with an outdoor seating area that is 625 square feet, and it will house a 16-space parking lot, although an 18-space parking lot is required. It's my understanding that the applicant submitted today a revised site plan to add the 2 additional parking spaces. The site will also include a streetscape buffer, a residential landscape buffer along the rear. Staff has reviewed this application and recommend approval with conditions, although engineering, I believe, would like to modify engineering conditions number 20 and 21. Thank you.
Chairman, 2021, we'd like for item 20 to read, the engineer shall prepare and submit a SWIFT to TDEC if required. So we like to have the phrase if required after TDEC on item 20, and that would also apply to item 21. Once TDEC has issued the notice of coverage, NOC, and add the phrase if required.
All right, thank you. Everybody get those? All right, would the applicant come forward, please?
David Bray with Bray Firm, 2950 Stage Plaza North. With that, those changes, we're in agreement with the conditions.
Okay. Questions for the applicant? Thank you. I have a motion, please.
Make a motion we approve as conditions of staff.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Call the roll, please.
Paul Kaiser,
Yes.
David Hunt,
Yes.
Jim Lamb,
Yes.
Alderman Young,
Yes.
Curtis Sigler,
Yes.
John Conroy.
Yes. Item carries. Item number 4 is a resolution to annex 3 parcels in the Bartlett Annexation Reserve Area, adopt a plan of services for these 3 areas, and establish zoning under the City of Bartlett zoning ordinance. Director Taylor.
This is a city-initiated request for the annexation by property owners' consent for approximately 220 acres of land to be annexed into the city's jurisdiction. This will also include an annexation plan of service, which you have in your packet tonight, that will provide an estimate for the future infrastructure cost for the property. The property to be annexed is shaded in yellow on the map. The property in
Well,
between,
wait a minute. Not shaded in yellow on these maps.
that's yellow, those three
Yellow.
lots, 3 parcels.
Okay, looks white to me, but, yeah.
Well, it's white on your screen, but it's yellow on the actual printout of the map,
Okay.
sorry. Can't help that one. But the one in the middle that's not shaded is currently in the city's jurisdiction. That's in between the white shaded areas. In addition to this, we have a conjunctive request on this agenda to also rezone the property, which will be done by ordinance as required by the City of Bartlett zoning ordinance, which is separate from the new requirement that the state has for annexing property into the city. So currently, the state says that either we annex by property owner's consent or by referendum. So we did obtain all of the property owners' signatures to bring this property into the City of Bartlett's jurisdiction. I believe that was included in your packet. If not, I have a set of signatures myself to share with you.
It is.
The estimates for the plan of services, which is for the infrastructure, was actually provided to us by a separate consulting agency, along with our engineering staff working with that consulting agency last year. Right now, we plan to annex the property and get it on a list so that it can be used for grant applications in order to obtain the monies to provide the infrastructure for the properties, but it does need to be within the City of Bartlett's jurisdiction in order for the properties to qualify, and the property owners know this as well.
How much is that going to run? Is there a ballpark figure? I just haven't seen in here what the city's going to have to ante up through grant or otherwise?
No, we don't know that yet. We just know what the cost is. Once the properties are in the city's jurisdiction with the potential, we have to have a potential with the option to purchase it, and that again qualifies us for the grants. That doesn't mean that we'll necessarily purchase the property, but we have to have an option for the application for the grants. This will open the doors for grant monies to pay for the infrastructure costs to develop the properties. Over the past year or so, the State of Tennessee Economic Development Office has been helping large employers look for potential properties to build new businesses. Many of them have been support businesses for the Blue Oval project. Tonight, we are asking for a favorable recommendation to move forward with the annexation process, which will include a review and recommendation by you all, and then it will go on to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen where a public hearing will be held. And then the next following step would be the conjunctive application for the rezoning of the property. Thank you. I didn't mention, though, that this also falls in line with our original master plan of development for the future of the city, the last being updated, I believe, in either 2010 or 2012, that shows large areas of employment for those particular areas. And what Sam is showing you is the potential build out for those properties, which is about 1.7 million in square footage. Before I thought it was a little higher, but it's around 1.7 million square feet in building area. Thank you.
Questions for Director Taylor?
There are no questions. I move that we approve with the recommendations from staff.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Call the roll, please.
Paul Kaiser,
Yes.
David Hunt,
Yes.
Jim Lamb,
Yes.
Alderman Young,
Yes.
Curtis Sigler,
Yes.
John Conroy.
Yes, that item carries. Finally, item number 5, we have a public hearing for ordinance 24-01, an ordinance to rezone Wallach and Marshall properties from CA Conservation Agricultural and AO Agriculture and Open Land to IO Warehouse and Wholesale in conjunction with the annexation northeast corner of Walter Singleton Parkway and Bowling Hughes Road. Director Taylor.
Okay. Again, this is a city-initiated request to rezone property located within the city's northwestern region of its urban growth boundary, also known as the reserve area. The parcels are proposed to be rezoned from Shelby County CA Conservation Agricultural Designation to Bartlett's IO Wholesale and Warehouse designation, as shown on the map. We're also proposing to rezone a parcel that is within the city of Bartlett's jurisdiction, and it's currently zoned AO, Agricultural and Open Land. It will also be rezoned to IO, Wholesale and Warehouse. With that being said, this is in conjunction with the prior request to annex the property within the city's jurisdiction. One of the parcels that is being annexed, which is north of the Loosahatchee, it's a small portion there. I think it's about 7 acres. It will not be rezoned because it's in floodway, and the floodway designation is the same both in the city and the county, and it is non-buildable. With that being said, we hope that you provide a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, where a public hearing will be held for the rezoning of this property. Thank you.
Questions for the Director Taylor? All right, seeing none, then we will open the public hearing. The rules of the public hearing: people for and against will be allowed to come to the microphone and make their opinion known. Each side will have 20 minutes with no individual speaker having more than 3 minutes. We will have those in favor speak first, and then those opposed speak after that. With that, are there any opposed who want to come forward to the microphone? Any in favor? All right, seeing none, then, are there any in opposition who want to come forward? Again, seeing none, I guess that concludes our public hearing.
I believe I moved that we send it to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen with a favorable recommendation.
I would second that.
Call a roll, please.
Paul Kaiser,
Yes.
David Hunt,
Yes.
Jim Lamb,
Yes.
Alderman Young,
Yes.
Curtis Sigler,
Yes.
John Conroy.
Yes. That item carries. Do we have anybody who has to speak after the meeting?
Yes, we received one form for Miss Jamae Zarshanis, who wants to speak about the private school use and the existing church use.
All right, if she's here, would she please come forward? We have your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, it's Jamie Zarshanis, 3641 St. Philip Drive.
You go ahead.
So, thank you, Mayor Alderman Young, for getting the traffic study for the church school. I just wanted to kind of add a couple of things in there that I think some of the residents had spoke about at the meeting. It's really kind of hard to do what we envision, what the traffic's going to be like once this all starts. The main traffic concern, too, is what's going on in Lakeland at that new project they have at Canada Road and Davies Plantation, the multi-use, I think it's 100 acres. And so obviously that is going to impact the traffic at that corner as well once that is developed. And then just problems within the neighborhood of school buses, emergency vehicles, et cetera, at that four-way stop. And then just questions of whether we needed people to direct traffic, because it'll probably be all cars, where there'll be like an officer out there or someone to direct traffic, just to keep the traffic, we hope, off of Davies Plantation Road so people can get to work or to get to school or whatever. And one resident also had mentioned that maybe a third lane in front of the church to get the people out of the road to turn into their property, if that would be necessary. So I guess that would be discussed at the traffic survey. Another thing that wasn't mentioned on the questions was a lot of people were upset. We realized that the letters were sent out as per whatever the state requirements are, but the majority of letters that were sent out about the hearing, et cetera, was sent to Lakeland residents, and that was over 50%. I didn't look at the list before I came here tonight, but it was a significant number, and they were across the interstate, those areas, and they would have to be within the boundary, and I understand that, but because it's a Bartlett decision and it affects everybody that's in that neighborhood getting out to the interstate, we just felt like not enough people were notified. The board of Davies Plantation Homeowners Association was just told a few days before by one of the residents on Hillman Way, and that's how the board found out. We weren't even notified. So, that was just something I don't know whether anybody can bring up to the state, but it was not good communication there as far as who was notified and the timing of that. So, anyway, that's it. Thank you.
That's the only one we received.
All right, thank you. Give that then, we are adjourned.